the money. I am glad to hear of this initiative. I'm just hoping that this determination, driven by Vice President Kashim Shettima to maintain existing equipment, will also be used when it comes time for his jet that I think is still stranded in New York. Let them maintain rather than replace that jet. Then I'll know that his spirit, mind, and purpose are all aligned in the right place. But seriously, this would really help our agriculture sector. The last word, as much as we want to have this equipment up and running, we must still tackle security, because dead farmers don't harvest. As long as we still have a situation when our farming population is being murdered in the farms and everywhere, then the equipment will not drive itself. So let's have that side by side with maintenance. We also need training, and then security must be the overall concern.
Okay, let me chip in with a few comments. Now, this initiative is being started in the third year of this administration. What that simply means is that for the first 2 years, nothing was done. Now, I'm looking at the cost of recovering these so-called serviceable equipment, and it's between 15 to 25% of the 14 trillion value of these equipment. So easily, we're looking at 2.8 to 3.2 trillion naira just to repair this equipment. The question I have for the Nigerian government is, where is the money coming from to repair these things? This, to me, just sounds like another soundbite designed to gather media attention, make it look like they're doing the proper thing, and at the end of the day, we don't see results. I truly cannot see where they're going to find 3 trillion naira to repair this equipment. Where is 3 trillion naira sitting down, not being used for anything, going to appear from?
Another perspective there from Mr. C on this particular matter. What are your own thoughts on this particular one? Let us know on WhatsApp on 0809-444-0981, 0809-444-0981. We're also now streaming on YouTube at Smooth 981 FM Lagos. Apologies for our YouTube family who couldn't get on the live stream immediately. Technology sometimes does that. I just had to review. And yes, we are live on YouTube at the moment. All right, let's keep this bus rolling along really nicely here. Mr. C, this is for your attention here, coming out of The Guardian. Let's walk into The Guardian right now. And SERAP, once again, our good friends at SERAP are in the news. The Socio-Economic Rights and Accountability Project has called on President Bola Tinubu to review his appointment of several resident electoral commissioners, that's the RECs, accused of being members of the ruling All Progressives Congress, the APC. Now, The Guardian reports that the group is urging the president to replace them with individuals of proven integrity and no political affiliations in line with constitutional requirements. Now, in a letter dated June 7th, 2025, that's just 2 days ago, and signed by SERAP Deputy Director Kolawole Uluwadari, the organization warned that the presence of alleged partisan figures in INEC could damage the credibility of the upcoming 2027 general elections. Interesting times we're in, Mr. C. Bearing in mind that we already have issues concerning credibility of our elections, voter apathy, and so on and so forth. I mean, if this actually is the case, it doesn't help the image of INEC, and of course, it doesn't help the push or the drive for Nigerians to come out in 2027 to actually cast their ballot and be part of the electoral process. Walk us through this one.
Okay, thank you, Ayo. So the larger question here is electoral reform, but let's dive specifically into the story first. So sometime in October 2023, the Senate, led by Senator Akpabio, approved the nominations of 4 individuals for Lagos State, Rivers, Edo, and Akwa Ibom. Now, It was alleged at the time that these individuals were all active and current members of the ruling party, the APC. Interestingly enough, they all scaled through the nomination and they were approved by the Senate, and they have since become resident electoral commissioners. Now, SERAP is now filing a suit that those appointments be voided. Now, the truth of the matter is this. I have no confidence that the SERAP will achieve what it wants, but I laud the idea behind it. We cannot continue to have people who are allegedly members of a political party being INEC officials or resident electoral commissioners. Section 156, subsection 1A of the Nigerian Constitution clearly states that you cannot be an INEC official if you are a member of a political party. Then section 14, I believe, also says you should have unquestionable integrity. Now, the bigger question here is this. Since 1999, voter turnout at each successive election has continued to decline. The election in 2023 witnessed a very shocking turnout. Now, as it stands with all the developments that have taken place so far, it is safe to say that the 2027 election will even witness a smaller turnout, because at this point, a lot of faith has been lost in the idea, the impartiality of the electoral umpire to conduct a free and fair election. We have seen elections where results declared do not tally with what the people wanted or expected. And there is no sign that there's any desire on the part of the executive to push through electoral reforms that will increase and improve the credibility of the electoral umpire. So we now have a case where if certain individuals who are alleged to be members of political parties continue to remain as INEC recs, what then can we say about the supposed impartiality and integrity of the forthcoming 2027 elections? Coupled with all the defections here and there, it doesn't bode good omens for that election. Now, you'll be surprised if you're a reasonable, logical human being that no electoral reforms have been pushed through. But for those who support the system, they say, if it's not broken, continue. And they will continue to tell you that whoever is aggrieved should go to court. Now, this is what inspired the Speaker of the House of Representatives on 2 different occasions to try to push through controversial bills. You cannot force people to participate in a process that they believe is flawed and lacks integrity. So let's just continue to watch. At least the 3rd year has started. Let's see if any electoral reforms will be pushed through before the 2027 elections.
Okay, Mr. C, I mean, before I leave this particular story, Ibe, I do have a thought to add to this. I just need to ask, I mean, looking at the fact that no electoral reforms have actually been pushed forward, and these reforms are very critical in, should I say, changing the narrative and changing the workings of our electoral body and so on and so forth. What else can be done to ensure that happens? I mean, if those who are supposed to push for this to happen are not doing this, and it's clearly needed, what else can be done within the ambit of the law, at least?
So this is a sad thing, right? We can't force the legislators to do what they're not prepared to do. The least we can do is apply to the courts, get orders of mandamus, compelling the executive to push bills in that regard to the National Assembly. Whether or not they get around to approving those bills, to arguing those bills, debating them, voting on them, is another completely different question. So I don't see a lot of options here because, like I said earlier, the executive doesn't appear to be interested in any sort of electoral reform. And even if they do, it will be token gestures. And it's really sad that we're heading into another election and we can't see any real sunshine ahead. But it is what it is.
Maybe.
It's important to understand that there's nothing urgent about electoral reform for this government. It doesn't have the same importance as changing the national anthem.
Well, I mean, as George Orwell said in Animal Farm, all animals are equal, but some are more equal than others. I guess some things are more equal than others, depending on where it is that you are sitting at that particular time. All right, AB, let us let us let me come back to your desk right now. And we're heading to Kano State via the Guardian newspaper, where the state government out there has lamented the continuous cancellation of the traditional Salad Durbar. Now, adding that it has caused major financial losses, especially in tourism and local businesses linked to the yearly festival. This was released or revealed, beg your pardon, by the State Commissioner for Local Government and Chieftaincy Affairs, Tajo Uthman, during the Hawan Nasarawa homage paid by the Emir of Kano to the government house yesterday. Now, Uthman mentioned that the government had started looking into requesting for financial help from the federal government to offset the revenue drop caused by the cancellation of the festival, adding that revenue generated from it was part of the Kano state budget.
The reason for the cancellation from last year to this year seems to be predicated on the conflict between the emirs. You know, there's one that was there, was removed, another one was put, the one that was removed was brought back. And so they have two sets of fervent supporters who are ready to take it out on each other. And it was for reasons of security or potential security threats that they had to take the painful decision to cancel the Durbar. As they have said, I mean, I have fortunately attended at least one Durbar in Kaduna. It's dramatic, it's amazing, it's exciting. There are lots of, you know, costumes and mock, you know, when you watch some of those medieval films, series where you see knights jousting, there's a lot of that kind of thing that goes on at the Durbars. You know, it's mock fighting on horses. We know you've seen polo games. You can imagine polo on steroids with lots of costumes and drama. It's an amazing spectacle. And indeed, it was so well celebrated in the Kano area that UNESCO has deemed that particular event an event of cultural significance. To think
Right.
that security issues have now stopped it from happening up to 2 times in a row, and as it sits, we don't know whether the third year will be cancelled next year. This is because people have not got resolution. I don't know what the actual resolution for this whole, you know, emirship tussle is, but the government has very correctly said that these events bring a lot of economic activity centered on tourism to Kano. And believe me, when people come from outside, they must use transportation, they must stay in hotels, they must use local transportation, they will eat snacks, they'll buy all sorts of things, and it does add a boost to the economy. So the question is, if you know how important that situation is, how come up till now, as a state government, you have not resolved it? Are we saying that the state government of Kano is powerless to resolve an issue of cultural significance in the state? If they're that powerless, I think they have no right to go to the federal government. They should abdicate responsibility. They should remove themselves from office as governors and go and sit down with the populace. You are the governor. Using the courts, using whatever local chieftaincy system, you must, I think, Mr. C will confirm, I think that take a decision, back it up how you have to, and let the chips fall where they may. The way I'm hearing the government speaking, oh, we're just helpless, I think that's very pathetic. And it makes absolutely no sense. Whoever they decide, they should make a very reasoned explanation of why they decided, take a stand, and live with the consequences. But to say now, because you seem to be effects in your own state, you want to go to the federal government should flog them away if they have the nerve to come to government. They have no business going to government, federal government, when you refuse to sort out a problem within your own state. So I want the Durbar to go on. I insist that it must go on under controlled security circumstances. And I suggest that the governors and all those in charge should take the decision without fear or favor to make sure that the state is conducive, because it certainly is, one, a beautiful spectacle, two, an item of international significance, and three, very, economically important to the state. Go after
Right.
it.
Very key.
Solve the problem and go. It's key. Solve the problem and let the jobbers continue. I urge anybody to take a time when these things are settled, go and visit the Durbar. This country is amazing when it comes to the profusion of culture across the board.
Okay, so let me quickly jump in on this. We need a bit of backdrop to why this is going on. Ganduje appointed, I think, the 15th Emir, Mr. Ado Bayero. Now, the new governor reinstated Lamido Sanusi. Now, under the Nigerian constitution, appointment of traditional rulers is strictly under the remit or purview of the state government. Well, because the federal government, through Ganduje, is interested in bringing back Bayero, that's why we're having all this sort of confusion. And then the courts too are not being truly helpful because this has lingered on for too long. It's pretty clear who has the power to appoint and depose a traditional ruler, and it's certainly not the federal government. So when the current circus of hypocrisy ends, maybe we will get some sort of breakthrough. Now, with regards to the Kano state government, with regards to the Kano state government,
some kind of resolution, you're correct.
Yes, so with regards to the Kano state government, there's very little they can do. Because if it was under the military, they would simply banish Mr. Bayero from Kano state. But you cannot do that under supposed democratic rule. So sadly, this has to continue, and we do hope that the federal government officials will start to see the common sense and the logic in resolving this as quickly as possible.
Yes, indeed. Thank you for that addition, Mr. C. Talking about tussles or no tussles, let's talk Lagos state politics. And we're heading into the vanguard right now, Mr. C, where President Bola Tinubu on Saturday declared that he had forgiven Lagos State Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu and was no longer angry with him, saying, "It's all over now. All is forgiven." The president's remark followed a closed-door meeting with members of the Lagos State Governor's Advisory Council, the GAC, who had come to plead on behalf of the governor and others perceived to have fallen out of favor with Tinubu. This, Mr. C, this particular, should I say, drama here, it just reminds me of what's going on in Rivers State as well with Minister Wike and Governor Fubara and the whole drama of daddy and son and so on and so forth. But in the grand scheme of things, where our politics is actually concerned, you know what? I will let you just get your thoughts on this one. Let me just stay on the fence here.
So again, this is another episode of the ridiculous and the absurd. How do you have an elected public official supposedly calling another elected public official his father when he has a biological father? It makes no sense. Two, this story is of no benefit to the average Lagosian resident, male or female. You are now telling us that you have forgiven him. Did you tell us when you were upset with him? Because the issue or the idea of forgiveness cannot arise if there has been no prior offense. Now, how does this supposed forgiveness, if indeed it is true, benefits the average Lagosian resident? I still don't see how. Now, the second tenure of the current Lagos State Governor has been wonderful in the fact that you truly cannot point out or identify what it is he's doing. He just seems to be coasting through the second term. Now, he went there with an unelected body of individuals who continue to make all the life-altering decisions of the APC in Lagos State. And it then begs the question, the State Executive Committee of the APC, what exactly do they do? Because if this unelected body has the final say, and they are not in the APC constitution, what exactly is going on? But at the end of the day, if they want to fight, they fight. If they want to settle, they settle. It really is none of our business. This is another needless distraction. Lagos roads are full of potholes. Lagos is dirty. Lagos is smelling. Can we fix Lagos? Because they continue to tell you that they want Lagos to become a global city. It's not going to become a global city with its current best practices. It has to improve across all facets of its economy.
Mm. Yes, indeed, Mr. C. Just to add a little bit to what you just said, you mentioned an elected public official calling another one his daddy and so on and so forth. I mean, we have daddies in the Lord, so there is that as well.
Ayo, where we borrowed this democracy from, you will never hear that sort of nonsense. In the UK, our former colonial master, you won't hear that nonsense. And it just speaks to the quality of the leaders we have. In the 60s, in the 60s in Nigeria, when we had the parliamentary system, you wouldn't find one politician calling another politician his father. When did all of this nonsense start? It just shows the degeneration in values, in quality all across the country over the decades. And it is truly, truly sad. It's truly regrettable. It's painful to listen to. It's painful to watch.
Right. All right.
Yeah.
Okay, Abi, you have you have something to
I
chip in?
mean, it's just interesting, somewhat embarrassing, and just tells us that somebody supposed to be governing a state is actually on his hands and knees waiting to be given permission.
Interesting thoughts. Okay, let's dive into a final story here. Time is almost up on the show, but I would love to bring both of you in on this particular one. Mr. C, it has to do with matters of the economy. This is coming out of The Guardian, where the Minister of Budget and Economic Planning, Abubakar Bagudu, has highlighted bold reforms steadily positioning the nation's economy for sustained recovery and growth. This was as a member of the newly inaugurated Northwest Development Commission, NWDC. Aminu Suleiman called on Nigerians to exercise patience with the president, describing his 2 years in office as more impactful than the previous administration's 8-year tenure. Similarly, Nigerian businessman and politician Abdul Samad Rabiu said sweeping economic reforms set the country firmly on the path to recovery and global relevance, urging the United Kingdom and its Western allies to strengthen partnerships with Africa's most populous country. Another reference, Mr. C, to the previous administration, which incidentally is from the same exact party and was also strongly supported by this current president. So this guys are trying to distance themselves from that administration somehow. I don't know how that works, but really quickly, both of you should just give us your thoughts on this one as we wrap up the show. Mr. Saida.
Go ahead, Mr. C. Mr. C, go ahead.
I should go first? Okay.
Yes,
yes,
please.
please.
So this is another nonsensical statement story that the economy is back on track. Stop telling us things that don't align with our collective reality. You say it is back. We should be the ones to testify to that fact. You do admit that it's not where it should be, whatever that means. Now, you keep referring to the policies you've taken that were clearly not implemented at the right time, have caused unmistakable pain on millions of Nigerians. You are not prepared to even walk back or even try to adjust those reforms. And then you continue to tell us the economy is back on track, there's light at the end of the tunnel. You cannot continue to insult the collective intelligence of millions of Nigerians. The just recently concluded Salah, millions of Muslims did not celebrate it the way they ought to, the way they have been celebrating it. And I find it absolutely ridiculous and contemptuous that you will suggest a 2-year adventure has been better in all ramifications than an 8-year tenure. As unfruitful as the last administration was, they're still miles ahead of this one. Life was not as terrible in the past 8 years as it has been in the last 2 years. And I challenge any listener who's watching this show, put in a comment, if you are better off now than in 2023, let's see your comment, identify yourself, let's know who we're dealing with.
All right, AB, very quickly.
Bottom line is, I insist that there's a crisis of competence. Some of these policies have merits, but the people, starting with President Bola Ahmed Tinubu and all his acolytes, have not demonstrated competence or capacity to actually deliver on these policies. Because there is no way you take a sick patient to a doctor for an operation, and the doctor doesn't make sure that the patient is healthy enough to withstand the operation. You don't just start cutting, hacking, and sawing. You tell me about how there's more money going to the local governments. You don't talk about how let's take objective things. Our economy was a certain number in GDP. Since the president entered, it has almost halved. So that's an objective figure. You cannot tell me that your GDP dropping to half of what it was is better in any way. I don't care what numbers you want to toss around. These people are simply gaslighting us, and it is ridiculous.
All right, let me sneak these messages in as we round up on the show this morning. This is from Tony Nikeja, who says, you see, with this father and son brand of democracy being entrenched into the Nigerian political system, it'll take more than an eternity for Nigerians to experience good governance. People keep treating these killer politicians with kid gloves. You hear? I hear you, Tony. And Ajayi Oloniluwa says, the most urgent reform needed to enhance our democracy now is to amend the electoral law to ensure that before any candidate is declared winner of an election, he or she must win a simple majority of the total votes cast in the election, not the present bogus provision that the candidate must secure 25% of the votes in 2/3 of the states and the FCT. All right, I need to wrap up very quickly, Mr. C, but interesting thought there from Ajay. That provision, do you think it's bogus? Is it actually bogus on the face of it?
No, it's not. It wasn't designed to be bogus, but the way it's been implemented by Nigerian politicians has made it look bogus. Because the idea really is, if you go for the simple majority, you can just get votes from a certain block of the country that supposedly have larger population numbers and win the election. But this provision is designed to ensure that truly you are a popular candidate at least through 2/3 of the country.
All right. I mean, that's a conversation we can have for a long period, but we can't do that right now, unfortunately. We need to wrap it up on the show. Thank you for joining me this morning, Mr. C and AB. It's been a pleasure having you on the show.
Thank you, guys. Enjoy the remaining of the public holiday for those who are at home, and get ready to make the rest of the week very productive. God bless you all.
Thank you for having us on the show, and enjoy the rest of the holiday. There's another holiday coming up, so it will affect your productivity. When all things, keep your head up, be happy, stay grateful, and watch all the good things of life come to you.
Yes, indeed. Stay positive always. Thank you for being a part of the show and keeping it tuned to Smooth 98.1 and Freshly Pressed as well. Messages very much appreciated. Don't go anywhere. The amazing stuff, amazing times continue on the show. 8:15 will be a walk into the locker room. It's going to be about great sporting action from over the weekend. And trust me, there's a lot to actually talk about. Keep it tuned. Don't go anywhere.